Well, recent discussions in the Israeli cabinet have drawn parallels between the attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump and potential threats to Prime Minister Netanyahu. With disunity resurfacing amidst ongoing war and hostage crises, the rhetoric of incitement remains a contentious topic as Netanyahu prepares to head to Washington next week. We have with us in studio ILTV editor-in-chief Maayan Hoffman to discuss a little bit more about this situation. Maayan, thank you for being here, of course. So after this attempted assassination of President Trump, we know that the Israeli cabinet held an entire session on only this issue as a result of the types of internal division we're seeing on the ground here in Israel. As you know, there have also been incidents of incitement against the left and some of the political opponents of Netanyahu. How seriously should we take this threat? Are these situations really similar? Does the public need to be on guard about the level of incitement in the rhetoric?
Well, I think that what we saw with the judicial reform protests prior to October 7th was actually rather deadly. It was getting to a level where people needed to be concerned. We haven't really gone back there yet since the war, but we are seeing it start to bubble up, and it is something to pay attention to, because one of the reasons we think that even October 7th was able to happen was that we were so divided inside the country. I think that we have to be careful, though, to look at the kind of incitement and the kind of statements that are being made and understand what is real and what is rumor. And what often happens, for example, with Netanyahu, people are accusing Netanyahu potentially trying to stop the hostage deal in order to keep his coalition together. That is likely an untrue statement, because what prime minister would not want to bring our hostages home? On the other hand, Netanyahu himself has been accused of incitement before. If we go back to the 1990s and the Rabin assassination, even today, people still believe that he was a big part of what brought about the assassination, Ben Gvir as well. What I do want to say, just as long as we're talking about Trump, though, is that, what was very interesting with the Trump attempted assassination, I think that we want to ask what will be the results, of the election in America, and whether or not this assassination had a positive or negative, you could even call it positive effect, is that Trump really missed that bullet by a very small margin. And he really is saying that it was God, a God's decision. His evangelical audience believes it is that case. More and more is coming out. We don't know what's going to be, whether it'll align with the polls, but there is a good chance that this will help him to bring himself back into the White House.
Absolutely. Now, Netanyahu is going to America next week. He'll be meeting with Biden. He'll be speaking in Congress. What can we expect to see from Netanyahu in this speech and in the meetings with the U.S. administration?
Well, Netanyahu is the foremost orator, and he is expected to tell Israel's story to the American public, and I believe that he will do that effectively in Congress and during his visit there. He's probably going to be setting a world record for the world leader who addresses Congress the most. This is his second time, so that's exciting for Israel, and it really shows that despite a lot of what people, hear and the coldness that supposedly is between us, that Israel is still a bipartisan issue that enjoys support from both sides of the aisles.
Speaking of that, I wanted to ask, because there have been a few Democrats who've spoken out saying they're not going to attend this speech because of the situation with Netanyahu. Is it becoming a partisan issue? Is this going to be an issue?
I don't think it is going to be an issue. You're going to see protests outside the White House. It goes without saying. You're going to have some Democrats, of course, that don't show up. But by and large, I believe that the Congress people will show up, and that this will be a very important visit for Biden, because ultimately Biden and Netanyahu have been friends for 40 years. And Biden right now is really struggling. Netanyahu's vote of approval or vote of confidence in his ability to handle the conflict can only help Biden with the challenges he's facing in this election.
Absolutely. Well, Maayan, thank you so much for your insights and analysis on this issue. Let's hope that the visit goes smoothly and that the rhetoric in both countries is dialed down a little bit.